Okay, so I just had this gameplay on the Elestrals Mobile app against a player named Jameson, and it was such an epic game, I had to immediately commentate it. So I'm very excited for this one. If you want to see more gameplay like this, be sure to leave a like, and of course, subscribe to the Elestrals channel. I really appreciate it. We're gonna have some fun with this one. The deck I'm running, I'm just gonna do a quick run through. It's a Waspire deck that utilizes things like Circle the Sky to kind of generate spirits on board and pass them to Waspire, let it to explode, and you've got Eruption as well. So it's more so direct damage, fire, burn, but I kind of have some text in there like Astravid and stuff to kind of lengthen the game a little bit and really go for the big combo. Once they get below that like 8 to 10 spirit threshold, you kind of get the Waspire on the field and you just start blowing things up, and it works out pretty well for Waspire. But this game goes a little bit differently, but it was such a good game. Again, I had to show you, so let's commentate it. All right, so we're diving in. We're gonna go for a little coin flip action here. We're gonna see that I choose to go first, which is, you know, pretty sweet. I'll take a first turn. I do get a really bad hand though, so I kind of think about it a little bit and I say, you know what? I think we got a mulligan. This is definitely a mulligan situation. So in Elestrals, you can mulligan by expending 2 spirits on your first turn. You can return your hand back to your deck, basically, and draw a fresh set of cards. You can do this infinitely, but it costs you 2 spirits every time. So it's a pretty costly thing. That's 10% of your health. I do draw into the Astravid, which is a really good place to be. I get to cast it, and it allows me to look at the top 3 cards of my deck. I have a tough choice to make here. Do I grab the Kinleo? Do I grab the Altar? The Kinleo was kind of a no-brainer for me. This is a card that can be really devastating for my opponent later in the game, and I have a Hammer of Hephaestus that I can utilize later. I'm going to set my Shield of Achilles face down. That's a pretty safe place to be. There's not a whole lot my opponent can do if they try to attack me. At this point, based on their Spirit deck, I may be able to determine that they're running Earth because they have the Taratless sleeves, but that's not, you know, by any means any sort of a guarantee. They'll set 2 back row here. As long as they don't have Earthquake, I'm feeling like, it's going to be hard for them to get through Astravid. So let's see what their play is going to be. And they're going to play Pigas into defense. And I'm like, oh, that's so frustrating because my Shield of Achilles is really important. But at the same time, it's a Pigas, so I can kind of work around that. And I draw into my second Eruption. So I'm thinking, okay, I've got 2 Eruptions here. I can use those for late game. Not super ideal right now because it's not something that I can take a ton of advantage of. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? We'll save them. Hopefully Astravid can buy me enough time where I can get the cards I need to get so I can make the plays I have to make. My opponent goes for Poison Tipped Arrow, and that's going to make it so my Kinleo is unable to do the things I want to do with it. But I say, you know what? I don't have any way to attack over this Pigas, and I cannot afford to leave the Pigas there because it becomes an Ascension possibility. It becomes just like a really defensive Elestral that I'm not going to be able to take out. So I go for the bold play of actually Nexusing off my Hammer of Hephaestus onto my Astravid, which is going to allow me to destroy the Pigas with Kinleo's effect. I previously couldn't attack over it because my Kinleo only had 1 attack due to the Poisoned Arrow, but now I can destroy the Kinleo utilizing, I can destroy the Pigas utilizing Kinleo's effect. That's going to remove the Pigas in the field, and it's going to allow me to essentially attack for 4 if I wanted to, right? And that's ultimately what I'm trying to do here. So I'm going to say, okay, I've got my Astravid in attack position. I'm going to now go for the attack. I'm going to bait the Drops of Leaf face down. I'll hit for 1 with Kinleo, and then I'm going to attack with Astravid. And they're going to ultimately go for the Shield of Achilles on my Rabbit, which is going to bounce me back to my hand. So this turn, ultimately, my Rabbit goes back to my hand. I lose 3 spirits on board. But if you think about that exchange, I managed to get 5 spirits off my opponent, right? 2 for PTA, 2 for shield, and then an attack directly. And I got rid of their Pikas, so I essentially cleared 6 spirits from them on 1 turn. I lose my entire field presence, but Astravid comes back to my hand, so that means I get to play it again, and I get another draw. Now, this deck runs 3 Astravids, 2 Zaptors, so I can only use Astravid 1 more time. It ends up kind of biting me in the butt later on, but it'll work for now. My opponent plays Nectar of the Gods to draw 2 extra cards, but again, I'm just keeping a hard look on their spirit count, because to me, if that spirit count gets low enough, I can start popping off Eruptions, and I can probably win the game from that alone. So that's my core game plan right now. How do I get them down below, like I want to see them at around 8, right? Once they're at about 8 is when I can do it. And they play Aeolus, and I'm pumped right now. Okay, so I want to make a note here. My opponent plays Aeolus. They go to 3 on Aeolus. They don't go to 4 or 5. They go to 3, which tells me that they want to have the option to search for one thing, and they also want to have the option to Nexus from it. That immediately identifies the face down, one of the face down runes as Altar of Stars in my mind. I'm playing this game, understand that there's a very likely chance that there's an Altar of Stars face down. And again, let me explain my thought process. There's no reason for my opponent to play Aeolus on this turn unless they plan to use it. They chose not to use it. I gotta believe they needed the Nexus target down there. So 2 face downs. They've got the Tectorus. That's fine with me. I do have the opportunity to play my Astrabit now. I don't think they respond to that. That just gives me the free draw. So I can look at the top 3 and grab something from my deck and start to put some pressure on the match. And I believe this is when I grab... Yeah, I grabbed the Nekruff here. So to me, Nekruff was a no-brainer. I need to start pressuring my opponent with some kind of offensive options. I need some Elestrals that can deal some damage and can attack, and Nekruff is really going to help me in this for sure. So I'm going to bluff the Circle the Sky face down as well. In hindsight, it turns out to be a bad play to play my Circle because I really needed the extra draw from Drops of Leaf later on, but it's no big deal. So my opponent's going to play Tectorus, and they're going to ultimately use this cool little tech with Altar of Stars. So they're going to cast Altar of Stars. They're going to Nexus from Aeolus onto Tectorus. They're going to change my Astrabit to attack position, and now they're able to attack over it. But notice their Spirit deck. Their Spirit deck is at 8. So we're very close to being able to win this game. In fact, if I draw an Eruption at this point in the game, I actually win, right? I win the game if I draw another Eruption, my 3rd Eruption. But I'm obviously not going to do that because that would make this not nearly as fun as this game's about to be. So we get into some really nitty-gritty play here for Elestrals, and that's why I was so excited about this game, because I feel like it showcases a lot of cool things you can do. So I wish I played this slightly differently. I grabbed 3 Fire Spirits. I really should have grabbed a Thunder Spirit. I have 2 more Astrabits in my deck, and it would have been incredibly helpful to grab a Thunder Spirit there. So in hindsight, I should have grabbed a Thunder Spirit. The good news is I have my Nekruff. I can play Nekruff. I actually choose not to Eruption here. I'm pretty sure. Did I choose to? Oh, I might have. I think I did, actually. I think I played the Nekruff first to see if they were going to play a rune, because I wanted to like force the rune in case they had it. And then I play Eruption 1 at a time. So I'm going to knock them all the way down to 2 spirits. I knock them down to 2 spirits. This is an amazing place to be. I'm thinking, man, I can't believe I'm about to win this one. This feels really good. I'm in a great place. I got him down to 2 spirits. I've got my Nekruff. If Nekruff destroys an Elestral in battle, then they actually lose another spirit as a result of that. I just have to decide, is it worth my time to play my Nekruff and crash it? I decide to go for a blind Drops of Leaf. It means I only get to draw 1. It's a really bad exchange. Not a good play at all. I do it anyway because I'm like, I need like a Tsunami or something. I need a backup plan. Don't draw it. I draw into another Ambrosia my 2nd of the turn. Same thing. I should have grabbed a Zaptor here, but I didn't. Mistakes have been made. I don't grab the Zaptor. Definitely a mistake there, but that's okay. So my Ambrosias are gone. I have 1 face down. I decide, you know what? I'm just going to crash this thing because I need to just hope for some top decks, and I need to draw some good stuff, and I get the crash. So we're both 5 attacks, so Nekruff goes down, but I hit them for an additional spirit. My thought is my opponent doesn't have a hand, so we're kind of both playing the same game. If I draw a Nekruff, I win the game. If I draw an Eruption, I win the game. There's a lot of things that I can draw that can win me the game. And my opponent draws Sorlet, and I'm like, oh no, this is so bad. Now, in my opponent's defense, they did have Aeolus, right? Like, they could have very easily, like, used Aeolus and grabbed something. It was clear to me at this point they didn't have Exaltair in their deck, otherwise they would have used it. And here's where I top deck the Astrabit, but I don't have a Thunder Spirit. And I'm like, no, dude, I totally threw this. Like, I legitimately threw. If I have a Thunder Spirit here, I get another free draw, and it's probably something good that can help me win the game. But it's 0 spirits to 3 spirits. This is where some of the nitty-gritty kind of finer details of Elestrals come into play. In Elestrals, you can still cast Invoke and Counter runes with spirits on field. My opponent doesn't have a spirit to utilize Sorlet's effect to change me to attack. They are fishing for a card called Ambrosia so they can draw, or they can regen their spirits, or they're looking for something like an Earthquake, but they can't play that either. So we're in a precarious situation here. I draw into Smoltooga, and I'm like, yo, I'm about to win. I can grab Nekruff. Nekruff wins the game if it runs into the Sorlet. All I gotta do, grab the Nekruff, add it to my hand, shuffle the deck. I gotta survive 1 more turn. I've got 2 5 defense Elestrals on the field. My opponent is not gonna be able to knock out both Elestrals in 1 turn. All I have to do is get my Nekruff on the field, and I should be able to win. But they play Drops of Leaf, and they end up regenerating their hand. We ended up cutting a little bit of that, but they get 3 new cards as a result of that. They use the Aeolus spirits to play Drops of Leaf. They had an Ambrosia, I think, in there as well or something, or maybe they didn't have the Ambrosia. But now I'm in a situation, okay, I got my Altar of Stars, I got my Nekruff, now's my chance to win. Nekruff hits the field. All I have to do is knock out the Sorlet. I'm going to attack the Sorlet. I think I actually attacked the Tectorus because it only has 4 attack at this stage. I attacked the Tectorus for the game. Am I going to win? No, they're going to use a spirit on the Tectorus. to change the position of my Necruff with Altar of Stars, so they had another altar face down that whole time, which explains why they saved the Aeolus for so long. Now the Sorlet has 2 spirits on it, the Tectorus is gone, and basically my win condition of Necruff is no longer valid because it's in defense position, right? And I'm like, this is no bueno. And then they pull the spirit off the Sorlet to play Ambrosia, regenerate 3 spirits, and I'm like, no, I was so close. I had my opponent down to the wire, but they used the spirit on the Sorlet to play the Ambrosia at the last second, get 3 spirits back, and now I'm like, oh no. And then it gets worse. They play Spinosect, which can attack while it's in defense position with 9 defense. He goes and attacks the Necruff, and I play Altar of Stars, which we just drew previously. This is going to allow me to turn the Spinosect into attack position where it only has 1 attack. I play the Altar of Stars utilizing the spirit from Smoltuga. Then, I guess it kind of works out, right? Then I end up nexusing the spirit from Astrabit onto my Necruff. And now Necruff is going to be on the field with 1 defense, 2 spirits. Spinosect has 1. My opponent makes a mistake here, by the way. They sent it to the Underworld. That was a mistake. I messaged him. I said, hey, no, you got to bring it back. Like, it doesn't actually die here. So there was a little bit of a mistake. But nonetheless, Spinosect's on the field. It's in attack position. It can attack this turn, or it can, but it doesn't do anything because it only has 1 attack, and I have 1 defense. So Necruff lives to see another day, and I'm like, wait a minute. I can still win. I say to him, he can't set anything face down. You already attacked. So my opponent has to return their face down to their hand. I draw Hephaestus. It's not relevant. I'm going to change my Necruff into attack position. I'm going to enchant it for the turn with a Fire Spirit. And if I'm able to knock out the Spinosect, I deal 1 damage because I have 3 spirits. They only have 2. And Necruff's effect activates, and I would deal another damage and make them have 0 spirits with nothing on field means they cannot cast. And that's ultimately how the game ends up. My opponent showcases that they had a Shield of Achilles in their hand and a poison-tipped arrow in their hand. Had they actually saved their Shield of Achilles and set it face down, I'm pretty sure my opponent wins the game, but they chose to attack with Spinosect first and not set their Shield of Achilles face down, and thus we were able to walk away with the victory. A crazy game, one of the coolest games I've played of Elestral so far, so big shouts to my opponent Jameson there for the game. And if you guys want to check out more, join our Discord server, discord.gg/Elestrals. I'd love to see you guys jump in. The mobile app is rolling out to all players soon, but you guys can play it. If you're a backer, you can get invited there. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.